considered a bomb at the box office, right? Like normally you can compare it to other stuff, right? Like, oh, I ain't really, I like Inside Out better than I liked Up. You know what I mean? But both Inside Out and Up did solid, phenomenal numbers, right, at the box office. It's very rare when you hear about a Pixar movie bombing, right? So if anybody wanted to hold off their movies until the theaters open back up to capitalize on that dollar, right, it should be Pixar. Well, Pixar just released a few weeks ago, like their next upcoming movie, which is called Soul, is going to be released on Disney Plus on Christmas Day. And like, that's what I want to happen, right? Like we talked about this. Like I want to see more movies just make that jump to the streaming services, or like, like the video on demand services. But I just, like Soul and like out the way it's being done. And I'm like, it's the Pixar movie that's like the Black Pixar movie. You know what I mean? Like Jamie Foxx is headlining that one. Yeah, man. It's just sometimes but then I got to think about it. Like maybe I'm tripping because realistically, the first movie that Disney Plus released was Mulan, right? But they did it under some very different conditions. Like Mulan was like a $30 extra charge in order to watch it when it came out. Right. With Soul, they not doing that. With Soul, it's going to be a direct Disney Plus release. So all you have to do is, as long as you good on your $7.99, $8.99 subscription to Disney Plus, you can watch Soul on. Like my house, we definitely watching that on Christmas Day.
Well, in terms of streaming sites, that's the issue that I have with them. So you pay a flat rate, and then every now and again they'll upgrade you where they're adding something else with. I think at first it was like commercial free, and then it'll be something extra that they offer. And now with like Disney Plus, and probably with a lot of them, now that movies are trying to be on the streaming site, you're going to pay a flat family rate, group rate to see a film. And
I think that, you're right. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Go ahead. Because it's really new to me. I'm just a consumer. Yeah. And so, I've just noticed, all of these streaming sites, they're getting over with us still. Like, I know they still have a relationship with cable.
So here's the deal. I don't think they really have a relationship. Well, they do. I don't think they have a relationship with cable to the sense that they like trying to dick us over the way that cable has done in the past, right? Right. That relationship is the fact that I really don't think cable looked at streaming in its early days as a threat, and now what's happening is that HBO, for instance, right? HBO. Most people, like, if I ask you what's HBO, what will be your reply?
Well, that was just a cable channel.
Right, exactly. If I asked 90% of people, right, I feel like if I ask you, like, what's HBO, what's Showtime, what's Cinemax, they're going to tell you that it's a cable channel, right? And that's how most people see it. In fact, though, HBO and Cinemax and Showtime and Encore, they're production studios, right? Like, they are smaller, more specific production studios that distribute films and create their own content. Their platform or their avenue for reaching customers was cable. What is happening is because the streaming services have become so popular that what you're starting to see now is a lot of those, what we used to think of as cable channels, right? Making jump over to streaming. And they can do that in one or two ways. So like if you have Hulu, for an additional add-on, you can get Encore, or you can get Stars, or you can get Showtime right through your Hulu, as opposed to having a subscription with Comcast. HBO has taken it a step further. They've gone and actually rebranded or recreated their own streaming service now called HBO Max.
Yeah,
right?
I have, and I just got suckered into that because of things that I wonder why.
I don't think you got suckered and I'm gonna tell you why. Because The thing that I think most people is going to run into is they're going to look down one day, and I'm pushing up on this myself, and I'm probably going to just have to sit down with the family and make some hard decisions. Like, look, I think most people are getting to that point now where you look down at you get these little $7.99, $8.99, $10.99 charges that come in at different times, right? But then I think all of us are becoming cognizant of the fact that when we add all that up, we paying what we was paying Comcast, right? And the whole point
Mhm.
was to get out of those Comcast prices.
The
And
only
then,
thing that I like about it,
uh-huh,
and I appreciate it, now I can select what I'm going to watch.
right.
You know, we go to the menu channel and you see what time something comes on and you
Oh, you
missed
remember
it.
them days?
But now
You
you
remember
can,
them days when you
right,
had to be there?
you had to be there. And
Remember
I think
DVD
now,
became a huge thing because you could record it
right,
and then watch it whenever you felt like it.
and that's what I noticed about when, so what did I get HBO Max for? Did I get that for Lovecraft? I think I got that
You
for
probably got it
Lovecraft.
for Lovecraft
Yeah, I
Country.
got it for Lovecraft Country. But then I started like it was a couple of other things that we had decided to review that I was like, oh, that's on here, that's on here. Okay, this is on here. But it was, I see how they're gonna start rotating things out to add new things, but you have an option like you have with Netflix, not as extensive as a Netflix or Amazon, but you have the opportunity to watch things when you want them. You still have to watch them because things eventually get. I think it's like a last call
Mhm.
option that's on there. Things that are about to be, I
Yeah.
guess, not doing good in ratings or whatever.
And I
But
think they're getting away from, and I think that in the near future we're gonna start to see them getting away from that
right,
because some of these deals that are happening are like exclusive deals. So
hmm,
like HBO is owned by Time Warner. That's Warner Brothers.
okay,
So what is interesting about HBO Max is that HBO Max, like, I was telling somebody, I think when the smoke clears from the streaming wars, like
hmm,
HBO Max and Disney Plus are going to be the two men, like the two giants of the streaming wars. But HBO is owned by Time Warner. That's Warner Brothers, right?
right,
So Warner Brothers has had distribution deals with different avenues or different platforms because they never had their own. But HBO Max is like lining up to become the distribution platform for all Warner Brothers content, right?
okay, okay,
So what's going to happen, I think, as the years as some of these already existing deals begin to expire, you're going to see these titles coming over to HBO Max and living there. So like right now, like there's still distribution deals across different streaming services for say like Harry Potter, right? But
hmm,
Harry Potter on film is a Warner Brothers property. You know what I'm saying? So like I feel like at some point when all of those different contracts and deals expire, Harry Potter will live at HBO Max.
okay,
Um,
okay,
you know what I'm saying? So one of the most exciting thing is that Marvel Studios created their own studio, right? Like they
hmm,
partnered with other, the first few Marvel movies that came out in the early 2000s were like Fox properties. There was some over at Sony. Like they had kind of sold their characters off to different studios, right?
hmm,
And when they weren't seeing kind of like when they weren't seeing the finished product that they really wanted, they decided to create their own thing in house, which became Marvel Studios, right? So that started with 2008's Iron Man and pretty much everything that has been of note since then. Well, that was bought by Disney, right? So all of the MCU uh Marvel product is on Disney Plus now, right? And it's
hmm,
so much of it that if you go to Disney Plus, they actually have their own hub, like the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Well, what's interesting is that on HBO Max, most of the comic book characters that exist in the DC universe, Warner Brothers is usually has been the partner for DC Comics for a
okay,
long time. Like all of the Batman movies are Warner Brother movies. All of the Superman movies are Warner Brother movies. Then they have their animation side, which is really kind of more of an in-house thing. But what we're seeing is that all of those titles are on HBO Max, right? So all of your Batman, all of your Superman, Wonder Woman, Justice League, Aquaman, Shazam, all that stuff. Now they got the what was originally the DC Universe TV shows like Titans, Doom Patrol. Those are all migrating to HBO Max, and they're gonna live there. And so I think what it's gonna come down to is, like what movie, like what you prefer, right? Like for the comic book kids, and maybe that's why maybe I'm biased and I think that they're gonna be the two like giants because I'm such a comic book movie fan that I know that I will always maintain my subscription with Disney Plus, and I'm a father, right? So Disney Plus I gotta have, and then I'll always have HBO Max as well because that's all the DC comics. And then if Harry Potter at some point I know is going to be living on HBO Max, and the kids love Harry Potter, so I know I will always have those two, and I might be a little bit biased about that.
I like the option because I'm gonna say I've never been, well, as a child I was very much so into TV. I had cable in my room. I was that kid. So I didn't go outside for anything. I think I was the beginning of the couch potato kid. But as I got older, I don't really watch TV. I really don't. I have a whole big screen television in my room that I'm looking at that even throughout this pandemic, I have not turned it on. Most of my TV watching and movie watching is via my laptop, and it's really weird. And I'm gonna, trade out the TV that I have and get a smart TV so I can, save my eyesight and watch, when I'm watching there. But I like the option because I was not one of them people who I had select shows that I watched.
Right.
I wasn't necessarily a network person, but I would have certain shows that I would watch, and that was it. And I like how a lot of those shows are moving to a stream site. But what I'm worried about is, Netflix is $15.99, and this one, HBO is this amount, and this one is this. Like I'm gonna end up paying a cable bill again.
Yep.
But I like the freedom to be able to, because right now I think I have Netflix, I have the HBO Max, and I have Stars. I don't think I'm gonna keep Stars. I only had Stars to watch P-Valley, but I don't want to that's what forced me to watch more stuff over the last couple months, because I was like, if I'm paying for these things, I need to be watching it. Because I don't know how long I was paying for Amazon Prime and didn't even realize I had access to all the movies that was on there. So I like the freedom, but there has to be a better strategy for these streaming companies. I know a lot of them are getting away with it because they're offering this selective show that may be hot right now. But they have to get out of that cable system, payment schedule, because it can add up. It definitely add up in a month if you got 3 or 4 different streaming sites. And I haven't even gone to the Disney Plus yet. I'm trying to avoid it, and it was like,
nah, man, come on over to the dark side.
But now,
come on over to the dark side.
I'm gonna have to partner with somebody. Like I'm gonna have to be like, hey, look, you pay this half and you pay this half, and because this gets starting to get very expensive.
I mean, Disney Plus will run you through your childhood. That was worth. It's worth that much. It's worth the price, and I think the Disney Plus is like $7.99.
Okay.
But you know what?
Cheaper than the rest of them.
But you know what, Nate? I'm gonna be completely keep it at 100, yo. If I ended up paying as much for like all of my different little smaller subscriptions, if it ended up being as much as cable, I don't know if I'd mind, and I'm gonna tell you why.
So you have both right now, though.
Have both what?
you have cable and you do the
Hell no, I
streaming.
don't got no cable, man. I cut the cord like
Okay.
7 years ago.
Okay, I was, I
No,
thought
man,
you
we
was
cut.
balling out.
Nah, bro. I don't even know what cable look like no more.
Right, and that's what I'm saying. So this
Yeah.
is what is weird to me.
Uh-huh.
So I'm used to HBO because I had cable up until maybe I'm gonna say 4 years ago. I had cable, and
Okay.
I was like, I really don't. I'm not home enough. And this was before you could really watch it on your your a device.
Yeah.
It wasn't really. I don't think it was accessible yet
Probably
as
not 4 years
much.
ago. No, not yet. Mm-mm.
Right. So it was you could only watch it when you were home. And
Mm-hmm.
then, I was like, well, no, because then Hulu was the first one that I got. And
Yeah.
I started watching stuff on the go with Hulu. So I would come home and instead of me turning my TV on, I
You
would
would
turn
just
my laptop on.
got
And I
you.
was like, let me do this mathematics. Xfinity, see you later.
Mm.
Ain't talking to you no more. And that was a big bill, because cable could, I have an apartment and I had cables in my living room and in my bedroom, and that was like $150.
Mm.
So I was saying, Hulu is what, $11.99? Okay, I'm gonna stick
Yeah.
with Hulu, and that's what. And I got through, and then all the other ones started being Netflix, and all of them started coming out. But I love the streaming networks because I wasn't a big fan of some of those pirate movie sites that will put
Right.
a
Right.
virus on your computer. So this was
Yeah.
easier and it didn't harm my computer.
Not to mention you ain't had to worry about stealing nothing or watching something.
Yeah,
And like I as an
yeah,
artist, I have an issue with that. I
right.
do it from time to time. I try to minimize it as much as I can.
You out there getting the bootlegs? Don't do that.
No, I don't get no bootlegs, but they got the bootleg sites now, bro. Like
Oh, okay.
I can't even remember the last time I saw somebody selling bootlegs. Whenever I see, every now and then I'm like down near Lexington Market or I'm somewhere where I look
Mm-hmm.
over and there's a cat selling DVDs. And I'm like,
Right.
the fuck? I haven't even seen a DVD player. And
It's still people that I'm telling you, it's still people, and I'm
I
not
know.
gonna point out the family members, but it's still people that watch DVD.
Right. Yeah.
And
I had
honestly,
to
I
like
watch.
literally force my mom. Like my mom.
Uh,
We had to literally and it wasn't that we had to force her. It's just I get it. It's like for some people that I see now how like new technology comes along and people will be turned off or not interested or not on it simply because they're unfamiliar with it. Right. It took me and my sister going to my mom's place probably a total of 3 times each, because we would get these calls like, hey,
right.
y'all, this thing disconnected again, and just
Uh,
getting her comfortable with it. Because like what I was saying was like, yo, like, yeah, I remember like, the cable bills, right? And
mhm.
truth be told, I feel like if I took all of the little subscriptions that we have here and we added them up, we're not quite at the cable bill price yet, but we're getting close to it.
And
But
you probably
one of
got
the
more
things,
freedom than you got
well,
with.
that's the thing. It's the value, right? When people started complaining about cable, I think the price is always something easy to pinpoint, right? But what I think people were really complaining about was the value. Because it wasn't like, oh, this costs too much solely. It was like this costs too much, same shit always on, right? Like because they had
Right.
limited content and then they would have it on like a rotation. So like,
Repeat.
what I
Yeah.
mean? And then when the on demand kind of came into play and you could kind of start picking and choosing what you wanted to watch,
Yeah.
it was
Yeah.
really clunky. It wasn't very user friendly. It wasn't like
It was
Netflix
still limited though.
categorized and then it was still limited, right? So it
Right.
wasn't like Netflix or Hulu where you had all of this content that you either hadn't seen in years or had never heard of to dive into. But then also there was the user friendliness of it, right?
Mhm.
It wasn't like you just had to go down and see what was playing on HBO Max or HBO One or HBO West or HBO East. It was like if you were in the mood for some action, well, they had all the action in one place. If you wanted to move for a comedy, they had all the comedy in one place. Then they had the comedy split up between like rom-coms and stand-up and you know
Mhm.
you go to some of them, like they got a whole section for like buddy cop comedies and stuff like that, or buddy comedies as they call them.
Mhm.
I think that the streaming services put a lot of effort into creating a product that was user friendly. So you've got all of this option, right? And then you can watch what you want when you want, and then you couple that with a user interface like a system like that you're looking at that's fairly easy to navigate and to find what
Right.
you're looking for. And cable didn't have any of that. You know what I mean? So like I think it was more like I think people are willing to pay top dollar if they think it's worth it, if they
Yeah.
see the value in it. And I think that as time went on, and especially with the rise of streaming services, it really shone a light on cable companies and how much value we were really lacking
Hmm.
compared to what we could possibly get over here with this new thing called
Well,
Netflix.
I think we already knew what we were losing. We already knew because that was always the complaint. Is nothing on all of these channels, and there's nothing on.
Right.
They start getting up into the hundreds and hundreds of
Yeah.
channels, and it was still nothing on because you would have watched it, or it was something you didn't want to watch, unless it was like the crime channel or something like
Mhm.
that, where you could get into, a number of shows. Or
Right.
what's the one that's always got you crying? I can't even remember the name of that one. That's gonna be the next streaming one.
What?
What's the it's not the I hate calling it the women's channel, but it's the
Oh, the Hallmark Channel,
Hallmark,
the
and it's one before that one.
Lifetime.
But it was one before Hallmark. Hallmark kind of took
It
over
was
where
it
that one
was
is. But it
it was
was like always
Hallmark.
like
It was
movie.
Lifetime. There's
Lifetime.
Bravo.
Lifetime. That's
Home.
it.
Lifetime. Yeah.
Yeah, so Lifetime,
Oh
like I
yeah.
think that was gonna be the next streaming site. Cause
Yo, the
but
funny thing
this
is like, it's funny that you say that, right? Because like I always
mhm,
laugh at people who watch like, well, I don't laugh at people. I always laugh at Lifetime.
right.
Because I remember as a kid, Lifetime was like the movies was like mad corny. You know what I'm saying? Like the writing
Yeah,
was
but you would be
bad,
if you
the
got stuck in a
performances.
movie.
There was a whole bunch of people that you ain't never know, like who these actors
Right,
are, right? And it's so funny now because I really have appreciation for stuff like that as I've gotten older. So
right,
like as an actor, right? Like like a lot of people, when like people like, oh, you want to be a star, you want to be famous, right? And like
mm,
I don't think I could ever deal with like actually being like famous, like like Viola Davis or Denzel Washington type, where you can't go nowhere without people recognizing you, right? And I always, as an actor, like, and I started to think about like, what would my career look like, right? So
right.
my career was like, yo, if I could land like a lead role or a strong supporting role on like the Sci-Fi Channel, right?
Hmm.
And I was like, yo, because the Sci-Fi Channel, like that was my niche, and that's what I mean. That's what I realized about Lifetime. Lifetime had a dedicated niche, right? Like
Right.
they had shows that would come out and they would run like 6 and 7 seasons. And unless you were a Lifetime fan, you probably didn't know much about it, right? Like about the shows and movies that came on.
I didn't
But
even know they had shows on Lifetime. I
yeah,
just
they
knew they
started
had.
doing, that's over the last like 4 or 5 years. They've started doing scripted original
Yeah.
content like series and whatnot. But
Right.
even the movies, like if you liked Lifetime movies, like you was always there when the new one came out, right? Like the people, like my mom was in the Lifetime, right? And I just remember watching them and thinking as a kid, these are mad corny, but they had a niche that people loved it. The people who loved it and
Hmm.
kept it going. So the funny thing is, you're probably right. Like Lifetime will probably come out with its own streaming service, and it'll be content that is like purely Lifetime. and
Because they
they
have tons of those movies. You know how many Lifetime movies of like
right.
I remember Tony Braxton had one, and
Mm-hmm.
it was a number of people who had they weren't the best. I think Fantasia's was on there at one point. So
Well,
they have so
think,
much
I
content
think
that
of
they not even showing on the station that they could probably upload and create a licensing deal or something with.
and like the funny thing is, yo, like I remember that there was some pretty talked about Lifetime movies recently, like within the last couple years, where
Hmm. Hmm.
like they were all of a sudden like a life, a movie was tweeting people was talking about it, right? And then you go look at the movie, it was a Lifetime movie. But yo, like I'm looking at some of the stuff right now. I mean, like they got it's some wild stuff, but like okay, it was I think the Jodi Arias story. I think if I remember correctly, I think that's the chick who like cut her husband's manhood off.
That Lorena Bobbitt.
Lorena Bobbitt. I think they did like a Lorena Bobbitt movie.
It was.
And then they did like a Jodi
Evers, and it was always
like they're starting to put out stuff that like it's starting to pop up in the mainstream, so to speak, right? Like I feel like once you got stuff trending on Twitter, you know what I mean? Like that's a pretty good indication that okay, you out there now.
Yeah.
And I remember like over the last couple years, like some of the Lifetime movies that have come out to some acclaim, like to some recognition. Where where back in the day it was just like the grandmas who watched the Lifetime channel a lot.
Right.
Your mother's girlfriends would come over and they, girl, did you see that Lifetime movie special last night? And then, like that's how you like it wasn't that everybody was watching. So yeah, I'm a big fan of the streaming services because and the funny thing is like you were saying, maybe we did know, but we didn't know we didn't have no options. What I mean? Like if you wanted, it was like you had two options. You could watch the 5 or 6 channels that was available on your local, with the antenna. And then they took that away, right?
You telling your age now, so now use old.
I remember that. I remember when we had like 2, 13, 45, 54.
I don't know what you're talking about.
You ain't got no, but that's cool.
Next you go.
We had a handful of.
You remember when there was nothing else on, and it was just snow on the screen.
I don't remember the white noise. I don't remember no snow. Right. I ain't that old. But options is what drives, I think, a lot of this. You know what I mean? Like, there was a time where, you had two options when it came to your television viewing. It was like you watched the handful of channels that were available for free, your local stations, or you paid for cable. Cable was the only avenue for you to get movies and TV series. Really it was just movies back then. But once a movie came to home video, you had two options, right? You got cable, or you just bought it from the video store.
See, and that was we were never the family that went to Blockbuster because I don't remember a time that I didn't have cable, like even in my own room. So that was just always the thing. And I'm realizing how even limited it was. Only a handful more channels than regular TV, than network TV had. So it wasn't like, and then you still ended up watching network TV. And then, the HBOs and the Showtimes, and if you was really, on your thing, the Playboys and stuff like that.
He had more channels. Because I remember
it was really, it was the Disney Channel, Nickelodeon.
You had the Disney Channel and Nickelodeon, which you couldn't get unless you had cable.
Right.
Then you had the rise of like USA Network, TNT,
but that wasn't network, but you could get that without cable. You could get that channel. Yeah, you could get USA without
USA and TNT without cable, bro.
Yeah, you didn't know the right people. But
I mean, okay. All right. Just so we go forward, like when I'm talking about bootlegging, I will be specific,
right?
And generally, I'm talking about in just like what you got.
It wasn't. I don't even think sports channels had really crossed over.
Sports channels came. They existed because the funny thing is like I don't remember paying attention.
Yeah, but it wasn't like that from the beginning, though.
We wasn't in the sports,
but they were more paper. But sports was more pay-per-view.
And
then it became
like the 80s, and I think that I just like we weren't watching it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they
Sports
watching.
Center. Like I wasn't into a lot of sports when I was a kid. Like I wasn't no big sports person. So as I got more into sports as I got older,
Mm-hmm.
like Sports Center been around since 1979. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah,
as
yeah.
a channel, a sports channel.
But it was
So
more in the beginning. It wasn't necessarily like ESPN is now. It was more you could watch rugby matches and tennis. Like it was more sports. It wasn't just like the big games like it
no,
is
but that's what
now.
Sports Center is now. I mean, when you
Uh,
look at okay, let me back up. Sports Center is like one program from ESPN.
right.
ESPN started out with like one channel, right? And then started as they grew. So you got like ESPN 1, ESPN 2, ESPN Spanish, but like literally like you can go to if you got the ESPN package, right? You can go
Mhm.
like you can watch soccer matches or excuse me, football matches in like Barcelona
Right.
on ESPN, right? And so that hasn't changed. They just
Yeah.
started developing more programming
Right.
as time has gone on. But I think for me and you, having had cable and not really being into ESPN at the time was probably because we just weren't in the sports. I think if I came from a household where there was a couple athletes living in there.
Nah, I was watching HBO Real Sex and sneaking and watching the Playboy
Well,
channel.
yeah, I was doing that too, but that didn't mean that. But
I could have sports at gym time. That wasn't my
yeah,
intention.
yeah. I was a Skinamax watcher.
Wow.
Sophomore, Emmanuel. Yeah,
It wasn't
man.
even real. It wasn't even
No, it
real.
wasn't. It was soft porn.
Right. It was
Right. It was the soft. Hey, you just saw the
right.
breast. You just saw breast. That's it.
Right.
That's it. That's it.
Right.
A lot of moaning. You had to watch it on mute and like with
Yeah.
the sound real low late night. Yeah. But yeah, yo, like you really didn't have
Yeah.
nowhere to go. Like you had one place if you wanted to, really be able to watch outside of what was generally offered for free. And
Yeah, but
then
I'm just thinking now what is offered. There's more specialty channels now,
yeah,
but it's definitely a variety, but it's a rotation variety. Like it's still, like I recalled Oprah building her station, and that was the first time I saw a channel be built, and you could see like it was just a bunch of reruns of Dr.
yeah.
Phil and
Mm-hmm.
Susie Orman, and I don't even think Iyanla was on there yet. She
Yeah.
hadn't even gotten there yet. But it was, and then she started. I think at some point you start seeing her add a lot more to Tyler Perry's, and she was
Mm-hmm.
doing 7 different shows,
Right.
7 different shows with all interviewing people after she'd have left this one big interview show. But
Mm-hmm.
it was, I've seen now there. I think we are now in more control because I
Yes.
think they're now realizing that we're not going to sit at home and watch your programming. A lot of them started putting their programming on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the first big. We're not going to be having cable much longer, but cable has gotten so expensive, and you really not getting anything. There's no value, like you kept saying, value. There's no for what I could go to YouTube and watch is no point in me having cable. Like I
Mm-hmm.
literally lived off of YouTube for like 3 or 4 years. That's all I
And
would
I
watch.
am so proud to say that I have never gone that far down the YouTube rabbit hole.
I'm telling you,
I
it's,
have I
it's
have
you get
definitely watched some stuff on YouTube, but when
Mm-hmm.
people sit there and tell me, and you're not the first person, like I have
Yeah.
several friends who have told me how like they'll sit and watch YouTube all day,
Yeah.
right?
Because
And
you
I'm
used
just
to
like,
watch more. It used to be more stuff. Now a lot of the stuff is being taken down for copyright, and it's getting so exclusive. But YouTube, I believe YouTube is about to sell itself out because of all the other streaming networks that do have these relationships. But there's some original stuff that's going on with YouTube, but it's
Mhm.
more influence based. And people, I don't really care to watch, 20 different influencers doing the same thing. That's, because now we have TikTok, so I don't need that. I don't.
Yeah.
So everything keeps being outdated, and you can tell the platforms like cable is going to be a dinosaur soon because they're not willing to switch over. So if this big cable company would just make one big streaming
Mm-hmm.
network, and then we can go to that one network and see all of these channels at will, like that's a conglomerate that I would pay for, because then I get to see what I want when I want.
Right.
If I could pause this movie and come back to it and go watch another streaming site, or they have to keep up with the times, because a lot of these streaming networks is like, I love HBO Max. It's not much on there because I've already
Mm-hmm.
gone through it, and I just, they need to really diversify their programming more than they have. And just having Lovecraft Country on there means nothing, to me, if it's not going to stay on there.
I think it's just got to start somewhere, though.
Yeah, but they already been a cable channel, so that's the frustration that I have. You've already done this.
Mm-hmm.
You've already been limiting. Go for it. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I know it's only but so much money you have, but go for it. It's so much content that HBO has. I'm waiting for the real sex on there, but I know they probably can't show that on there. But
Wait,
not
what you
that I
mean?
would even watch it.
You talking about the show Real Sex?
Yeah, like I'm waiting for those things to go up, be added to it. I know they're trying to be family friendly at the moment, but
Nah, I think they are on there, bro. Have you
they
been on
are.
HBO Max yet?
So I told you I only got it for Lovecraft Country.
So I think you should probably jump into the search and see if it pops up, because as I understand it,
Let me
like
find
all
out.
of their past and
Let me
present,
find out.
all of their past content should be available. And I
Um,
can't see them. I can't see them not including Real Sex in that.
I'm just saying, like, it just nothing was. It's not, when I go through the search,
Uh
it
huh.
it it's not a big search. Like, it hasn't gotten to an Amazon level where they have a lot of different channels, but it's not. It's just not.
Hmm. That's interesting. When we like, later tonight, I'm gonna definitely go on my HBO Max, and I'm going to check to see if
Let's see if that's
Real
still
Sex
on
is
there.
on there. Because
I'm
that would
trying
be
to look it up
interesting
now
to
and
know.
see if it's on
Okay.
there.
Yeah, see if it's on there. That would be interesting to know.
Nope, it's
Because
not on there. Nope.
okay, all right. I didn't know that.
And
I actually,
I'm not on that. I think your perv level is different than mine, but I just think like it was just a show. It was very informative to
yeah,
someone like myself who did not have, the sex talk. But
right, right.
it was like out there, because
Oh
it
no,
was,
I know.
you saw body
I
parts.
remember.
But I mean, I just want to get back into watching TV. I'm not a pop culture TV watcher, but I keep stumbling across these things that are now out. But
Yeah,
I like good TV,
yeah.
and now that we're kind of in the house and we don't know for how long, how much more time we're going to do it like this. But I've enjoyed watching stuff. So I'm one of them people who watch the same movies.
I do
I
that.
on HBO. I found not Waiting to Exhale, The Bodyguard. Like, oh, I'm gonna
Yeah,
watch that, and
yeah.
stuff like that.
Hmm.
So I watch the same stuff every Christmas. I watch, The Preacher's Wife. I watch the same type
Hmm.
of movies, and I
Gotcha.
can watch the movie if it's a good movie. I can watch it over and over and over again.
Yeah. See,
But
I
now
have
I'm starting to
that
branch
problem
out.
too.
Yeah,
Like I
yeah.
will sit and there's this really good movie that I liked on Netflix, and every time I go, my girlfriend like, you about to watch it again, aren't you? And like she just know, like as soon as I get into the watch again, so Netflix has like a watch again section where
Mm-hmm.
it keeps pretty much everything that you watched, and you can, if you go through it, you can find like all your favorites, right? She like, you
Right.
about to do this again, aren't you? Um, So yeah, when I find those movies, for me, I can't stand coming across The Color Purple, because
I
that means
watched that. I
I'm
watched that
losing
this
like two and a
weekend.
half, 3 hours of my life,
I
because
watched
I'm gonna watch
that's
The
on
Color Purple
HBO.
every chance I get. I'm gonna watch Forrest Gump every time it's available. I'm gonna
Yeah.
watch Braveheart every time it's available. Vampire in
I'm a
Brooklyn.
bit. I'm not gonna say I'm bougie in my TV watching, and I'm very limited. But
Uh-huh.
I'll be like everything has to be from an acting point of view, and I'm a bit racist when it comes to um TV
Uh,
watching. A little bit. It's like I
yeah.
have white. It's like I have white friends. I can't be racist. That's where I'm at. But my because some stuff is just not. It's not
But
good
yo,
to
like
me.
some stuff, the funny thing is, like, as more and more black produced, and
Mhm.
just as more content becomes available for me,
Right.
the less likely I am to sit down. Like, I was getting ready to watch a documentary today, and it was about a sex cult. It's on HBO. And I was sitting down watching it. I got 20 minutes in. I ain't see no black people. I turned it off. And that was why I turned it off. I was
Right.
like, it don't look like, I don't see no black people. And based off of what I'm hearing right now, I don't think no black people gonna pop up at no time in this 6-part
And
documentary.
that's how,
I ain't
and you
got
know what
time
I'm gonna
for it.
tell you? It's certain movies that I will put off watching because it's in my mind at some point the pendulum is gonna swing back the other way.
Uh-huh.
And a lot of this stuff is not, and we're not
It'll
gonna
be
get
new.
anything new. So there's
Yeah,
certain things that I
if you
avoid,
had the
like
pendulum conversation, yeah, I think that's gonna be something that we're gonna continuously come back to,
yeah,
across this series, is the idea of that pendulum swinging back,
yeah.
and then you're like, now I ain't got nothing else to watch, so I'm gonna go ahead and watch what y'all been doing the last
But
couple
we've
years.
seen that happen. I remember there was a big time period where all we saw was these biopics, these black biopics. And I
Yeah,
think Angela Bassett has been in most of them. I think her and Cicely Tyson are up there with biopics.
yeah,
But that was a pendulum. You know, it was more infusing history into our TV and movie watching. And
right,
then, it went to the sitcom era where everything was a sitcom, and then it was the drama era. Like for us, we get these periods of time, and right now it's so much out there, and it's only because there's so many different platforms now. And
yeah,
you don't have to buy your way or pay your way into cable. You can be on a streaming site. You can be
right.
on a YouTube. You can,
Hmm.
there's so many different options now.
And
You
see,
don't
that's
have
why
to be
that's
a
why I
ticket.
don't think I don't think the pendulum is swinging back. But you're right. Like,
Well, they
we
canceling
kind of
some of our
we
stuff, good
we
stuff.
kind of what are they canceling?
Well, we just talked about Watchmen not
Whoa,
coming
whoa,
back for a
time
second
out, time
season.
out, time out, time out, time out, time out. They didn't cancel Watchmen. Watchmen was initially conceived as a limited series, the same way that Little Fires Everywhere and Lovecraft Country, right? They were based on very, very specific works that
Yeah,
were limited in what you could do. The funny thing is, like, Watchmen, I don't want another season of Watchmen
why not?
because it was perfect. It was perfect, and
I
I
think
don't feel like I don't
that's
feel
gonna be
like
the new wave. That's gonna be the new wave. A lot of our work is gonna be limited.
well,
I think
I don't think it's gonna be I don't think it's our work. I think that there is a new wave of limited series coming along. I think the reason why is a couple different reasons. I think one, I think we are all fatigued when it comes to, I think, like look at what the streaming services have done. Like, when you and I, when cable and network television was all we had to watch, like,
right,
one of my favorite shows of all time is the X-Files. That's what I loved as a kid. I'm a big science fiction cat, right? So
right.
now I'm an adult, and the X-Files is on Hulu, the X-Files is on Amazon, and it's daunting. It's daunting, like, there are
Mm-hmm.
like 24, 25, 26 episodes per season, and they went on for like 11 seasons.
But I love if it's good.
And
I love that.
I don't, yo, I'm gonna be honest with you, bro. Like the only thing that I am sitting down right now, like the only thing I have been able to keep my attention is The West Wing. Shows that I loved coming up, I won't even watch because I'm like, yo, this is too much. I'm not watching 27 episodes. I'm just
But
not
you
doing
don't
it.
have to
20,
now. Now you
27,
have
hold on.
that opportunity.
27 episodes 7 and 8 times.
It is good because
No.
there are shows that I love that I wish had that many episodes.
So
But
so as time, like now we've come to this thing with the streaming, and you're seeing a lot of stuff that's like 8 to 12 episodes, right?
right.
I think Game of Thrones was like 10 episodes per season. Watchmen was eight episodes. Lovecraft Country was 10 episodes. But then even like, so I'm a big, like I said, I'm a big comic book guy. So you go into the Marvel shows on Netflix, right? They were like capped at like 12, 13 episodes. I like that. I do. Especially in the tight, it gives you some tighter narrative to work with. The other thing is that I think you get to attract a lot of people who normally wouldn't work in television, right? That's another thing that we've seen over the past few years is a lot of your A-list actors, people who normally don't work in TV, you coming to television. And I think a lot of that is because of the tighter narratives and the shorter seasons. Right. That doesn't mean that your show is good just because it's shorter season, right? I just think that it's made me realize how daunting and almost unnecessary. Like I just don't see like there's nothing going on in your show that justifies 22 seasons, right? You throwing a lot of filler episodes. And when I watched the X-Files, that's what I realized. The X-Files really existed around this premise of a shadow government and this one man's like fight to like learn the truth and why the shadow government was doing what they were doing and keeping things from the public. And but in 24 episodes a season, bro, it was a lot of filler.
But see, and you know what? And that may be why we don't where we differ. Because TV is numbing to me. TV has always been TV, movie, all of it has been something I did when I was stuck in the house. Okay. Or I didn't feel good and I'm just zombieing out. Okay. I watch stuff for content because I'm an actor myself. So I naturally watch those things. I'm looking at costumes, I'm looking at set, I'm looking at continuity. But that's how I watch TV anyway. I'm not the storyline. If it's good, I'm in it. If it's not, I'm looking at everything else. And that's just for me. But I love something that has, because normally, like, I think what Lovecraft did was went chapter to chapter. I think that's what they did. They just went through the book. But I'm now, for me, the challenge is, so now what are you going to do in season 2?
I don't think there's going to be a season 2. I don't think they ever. I don't even think it was. I think that I think that you can go into something thinking that this is it. Like we're doing.
My mind can't work like that. Like, what's the point? You just got it all excited and aroused, and then
they told a complete story. And that's
my. But
hold on. Let me ask you this: how many of the shows that you enjoyed when you watch TV? How many of those shows from the early days, like when they were done and over with, you felt like, okay, that was a complete story?
Not many of them.
Right. Exactly. And but see, that's my thing. It should always be about the artistic integrity first, not about. And a lot of times, and now what we know is that a lot of these shows were just 24 and 25 episodes because networks were squeezing every dollar they could out of them. The X-Files did not have to be 22, 24 episodes long. And
but some of those cult kind of favorites, I'm not looking for 100 episodes from one season, but I want enough where, it goes off. It's a big gap in time. So
Mm-hmm.
even, binge watching something, I want something that I can get into the story and really, get into it.
Yeah.
But when it's like a limited series, you like, I
No,
literally,
I'm
I
not talking
literally
about.
watch Lovecraft Country minus the final episode in one day.
Okay.
That's nothing for me. If I'm a binge watch something, I wanted to, let me put this down, let me go to sleep and be able to watch it again at another time. But if I can get through something, and it wasn't even a whole day, it was like once it started getting dark, it was it.
Yeah, 10
But
hours.
right, and that's only because it was like a true hour long show.
Right.
But I like something that got a little bit more into it, and I not necessarily the throwaway episodes, but I
Mm-hmm.
think it allows us to, kind of live with it a little bit more versus it being so episodic and
I
it's
mean, I mean,
over.
I mean, everything is not going to be like that. I think that Lovecraft Country exists in a particular space, right?
Right.
I think Lovecraft Country, Watchmen, Little Fires Everywhere, shows like that exist in just a particular space that we could be getting more of that. I think we
But I
will
think it's coming back. I think
get
it's
more of
coming
that.
back. I
Um,
really do.
and I wouldn't be mad at Lovecraft Country for coming back. I would hate for them to sully what I feel like has been I felt like was phenomenal show. I would hate for them to sully that just for the sake of trying to bring it back. Because I think
No,
that no matter how good the show is,
Sully it all up because I want more of it.
and I don't
I
want
need
more.
some
I
twists
don't
and
want any
turns.
more if you're gonna sell it. And that's what I wish that a show like the X-Files existed today, where they could tell that story, that core story in
But see,
12 to
that's that
14
millennial
episodes.
in you. That's the millennial side of you coming out, and you want it fast, you want it quick, and then what's the next thing?
Not. I want it meaningful. I don't want a
Yeah,
whole bunch of
but see,
filler. I don't
and I get that because that's how I can recognize it. But I come from where we had
filler.
actual TV series
No,
that
y'all had
went
filler. You
on.
can't call it an actual TV series. You had filler episodes. You had
It
throwaway
wasn't,
episodes, and you had stuff that
but it
was
was,
not
but it was,
that ventured off from the main premise just to keep you there every
but
week
see,
for 22 to 26 weeks.
but it is a
What we had.
different genre. We're talking about different genres of TV, and
Okay,
you
well,
got to
what hold
understand,
on. What genres you
like
talking?
situational comedies, sitcoms, dramas, they all
Mm-hmm.
have a certain arc to them. And like I'm come from a sitcom era. So I like episodes.
I like episodes in my sitcoms. That doesn't typically bother me because sitcoms typically are episodic in nature, meaning that there's a different
yeah,
topic and a different theme every episode. And I think
but
that's
just
a little bit different. I
that
think that's,
style is what I like. I like that in my TV. I
but I
like
think it
if it's
works.
gonna be
I
that,
think
I
it
need it to
works
be
with.
that across
Well,
the
I
board.
look if they came out with a sitcom, like sitcoms still come out today, and sitcoms are still popular.
They horrible today though.
It's well, that's a matter of opinion, but like there are you've got, we got what we had coming up. Some of the really popular ones like Young Sheldon, the one that Young Sheldon was a spinoff from, The Big Bang Theory,
Yeah.
Parks and Recreation. Like we've
But those
had
things are like
some
new though.
very
Those things are still kind of new. Those are not
I
like
mean, that was
old.
like what Big Bang Theory is like what early 2000s. I mean, these are shows that again,
That's
22,
kind of
20,
new to me.
23 episodes and they've gone like 10, 12 seasons, right? We
But
be like, well, that's kind of
that's
new.
a situational comedy. Like I like that. I like
I like situational comedy too. And I
yeah.
don't think that what I'm talking about, I really wasn't talking about situational comedies. I
Yeah,
don't
you
really
talking about more dramas. That's a
yeah.
drama.
Yeah, like the drama series, I like the shorter, tighter narrative, get to the point of the story. Don't hit me with a bunch of filler episodes. And because I like drama, um, and that's what I came up watching, I realized that a lot of those shows, a lot of it was just a lot of filler episodes.
Yeah, but it was all necessary. It was needed. It was necessary. It gave us the whole
No,
story. It wasn't
it just kept us glued to our seats once a week for 22 to 26 weeks.
And
That's all it did. That's all it did.
That was interesting at one point in time. Like, and I like that. And I mean, I think because right now we're trapped in the house, I want that. And I'm tired of as soon as you get into it, it's off. Like, that's not fun. It's not fun for me. And everything because a lot of this is not even based off of what is best for the show. It's more budgetary and more, we're testing these things out, especially when you're thinking of our work. And unless it's truly independent, it is, they shorten our stuff. We don't get like a good chunk of our work, and it's always somehow is limited, or it's only going to be here for a limited amount of time. Or I want our work to really stand out. What
are you talking about? You can't just say that over one show.
Well, no, I'm saying that a lot because a lot of our shows now don't get full runs in terms of
first of all, like the first no. Time out. Nobody gets any, like, you talking about full runs back when, like, that's like 90s, 2000s. Like, nobody's doing that anymore. Nobody doing that, yo. I don't know how you
who wants to watch a TV show for 2 months and that's it? Like, that's dumb.
And see, that was the thing. Like, I'd rather watch 2 months of a really good show than if that's all
you gotta wait a whole year for it to come back.
I mean, that's fine. Don't give me filler episodes. You know, like, let me tell you something, yo. Like, one of my favorite shows was New York Undercover. You know how many filler episodes there were in New York Undercover?
But you keep saying filler episodes. Like,
if they don't advance the story, Nate, they're filler. There's every TV show you've ever watched has
it's going to be something interesting about it.
It has a core theme, and it has a narrative. Characters start in one place at the beginning, and they end at the end in a different place. And when you watch those shows, now,
I just want to be entertained. It's never been that strong.
I want to be entertained too. I just like so for me, now that I've seen what can be done in 10 to 14 episodes, do it in 14 episodes. If you're gonna stretch it out to 26, make sure that you actually have enough content that.
But I don't see it as, and I when I do watch TV, I watch
energy all through 26 episodes.
But I don't think filler to me is, if this wasn't a part of this, it would make sense. And I just like watching and being invested in a TV show. And I hate that this new microwave society we live in, everything is like you can't get into anything anymore before it's over. I mean, and then you gotta wait for the whole another season to come out. And
it only take 3 episodes to get into something.
Not for me. Like, because for me, the reason I never watch TV is because I enjoyed when all of the episodes were done and you could just go episode to episode to episode to episode, like get the box set or something like that and watch them all. Like, that was me. I used to, before we had on demand, I would tape everything, and I love watching stuff back to back. And the idea of binge watching, I think I started that because that's the only way that I really enjoy TV. Because I like something. That's why YouTube is so fascinating to me. Because if you watching one of something, every single thing then starts to come on after that. You almost have to cut it off and search for something else to come on. I just like dumb TV where it's just one thing rolls into another, and I don't like having to, be invested, and then you like, that's it. Like, it was such a boner killer for me to watch all of those episodes in one day, and it was only one more episode coming. Like, that's why I don't get invested in TV anymore. Because
so maybe you just shouldn't binge watch when you know there's only 13 episodes to binge watch or 10 episodes to binge watch.
That's the only
I think that was part of the reason why. I think that was part of the reason why, um, like, so there was a time where like a lot of the streaming services, when they came out with original content, they would release it all at once.
Right.
And then they stopped doing that. Like not all of them, but in a number of cases, especially with the shorter episodes, they pull back on that. So I think there's some validity to what you're saying about the shorter seasons when you're binge watching. I think there's a lot of validity into that. All I'm saying is that being someone who is really into, like, what gets me is the story and how well the story flows. And what I found was that when all of these tools came available for me to watch kind of whatever I wanted to, and then one of the things I started to do was to go back and watch some of the shows that I remember watching and loving as a kid, as a teenager. And what I realized in that, now understanding how story structure works, a lot of what I loved really did come with a lot of filler. And when I say filler, I'm not saying they were bad episodes or like episodes. I'm just saying that I appreciate the flow of a story, and there was a lot that was filled in to get around the fact that, like, a lot of these shows that I loved could have absolutely been 13, 14 episodes versus 27, right? The X-Files could have absolutely been 12 to 14 episodes per season. Lost could have absolutely been 10 to 12 episodes per season. They threw a lot in there because they were just trying to elongate the story. It wasn't for any purpose other than to continuously create content for 26 weeks. As opposed, so the thing that I appreciate about the shorter shows, they're like, yo, we're here to tell a story, and that's the main goal. Okay, and we doing it in this amount of, like, this is what we got, so we got to make this story work in this time construct. You know what I mean? It's like, have you ever been to a play that was 3 hours and you was like, yo, I that really could have been an hour and a half?
I have, but I've also been to plays.
Right, I know you have, because they leave you wanting more.
Right, and
I don't think that has anything to do with length.
I say size. The duration of something matters not to me. The quality of it does, because
I've also good quality, it's always going to leave you wanting more.
Yeah, but I've also have had plays or movies I've gone to that were short, and I'm gonna get up and go to the bathroom, and I'm not coming back because it's not good enough for me to be invested in it.
Okay, but well, I think that if it's good quality, it could be an hour or 3 hours. If it's a truly good quality work, it should always leave you wanting more.
But see, and that's what I'm enjoying about these streaming sites, because an hour-long show is actually an hour. And that's what I enjoy. I don't want you to say that this show is an hour long and it's really 39 minutes.
And you know why? Because you don't have to fill it with commercials.
Right.
That's why we can get our full 60 minutes now.
Right. So that's what
some of these shows that used to come on network TV, you right. You sit down to watch it and they really like 39 minutes. 40 minutes, right? They was an hour when they came on, and commercials ran for like what, 120 seconds in between each commercial break.
Yeah, and I don't like that. That's what I don't like. That's why I'm enjoying these sites. But what I don't like is some of the sites, I remember at the beginning, they would charge you extra to be commercial free. So I feel like if you get
I don't think it was a lot. I think that was just Hulu.
Well, that's what I'm saying. That was my first streaming site that I would watch. And I hated that. Like, I hated it that you would charge me more to be commercial free. And I think that YouTube does do that. So still go to commercial.
All right, I get, like clearly you don't like commercials, right? No. Like, I don't like commercials either. But you do understand why that is, though.
I do. I understand the value of it, but you are charging.
No, I'm not. No, I'm not. Hold on. I'm not talking. Okay, so go ahead. Go ahead. Tell me what you're gonna say
Well,
about the
the
value of it.
value of it is more so on the producer side.
Mm-hmm.
As a person that's watching, even if it's on cable, I'm still paying a cable bill. So you still go bombard me with commercials. Like I
Mm-hmm.
hate that. I absolutely hate that.
Right.
And a lot of stream like YouTube, for example, YouTube will offer you a commercial free option.
Right.
And I get that because I'm not paying to watch YouTube. So that
Okay.
doesn't make me
Right.
as bad because I'll just wait the 5 seconds and click skip.
Mm-hmm.
But when I'm paying for a site, I have an issue with that. I do. I do, and thankfully, a lot of them don't do that anymore.
Well, no,
But
actually, I don't remember any of them doing it except, well, I guess some of the
Netflix did
smaller
it.
ones.
Netflix did it in the
No,
beginning.
Netflix never had commercials,
Netflix had commercials.
did they?
Yeah, Netflix
Are
had
you
commercials.
sure?
Yeah, because I think Netflix was it Netflix that I got next? I think I got Netflix after I got Hulu.
I must have
Hulu
got
was
on
born.
Netflix. Um I must have got on Netflix later then.
Yeah,
Um
Netflix was out for a minute before I think people really began to really do it because Hulu was the first one. And Hulu was cool, but like you Hulu was good because you could watch TV shows that were on network TV. But what would happen is you would have to watch it like the next morning, or it was like the next day or the next morning it would be released, and you could watch the episode there. Like I
nah,
remember I
Netflix,
used
yeah.
to watch the Kerry Washington show. I can't remember the name of it when she was the fixer. I would watch her show the next morning.
Scandal.
Yeah, I would watch Scandal the next morning
Mm-hmm.
on Hulu. But it was weird things like that. But I would want I'm really ready for all of these channels to be like, hey, I'm gonna team up with this channel and this channel, and we're gonna give you this streaming site. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm ready for them to kick cable out completely because it's a waste
Well,
of money.
I don't even know if the people still have. I guess the older generation still holding on to their cable.
I mean, I know a lot
I
of
don't know.
people
I mean,
got. I mean, a lot
technically,
of
we
people got
always
cable.
gonna be in Baltimore. We'll always be Comcast customers to some extent because even though I no longer have my TV services through them. I still
Yeah,
got the internet, but I just looked it up. Netflix has never had ads ever.
I
I
don't
knew I was
know.
right about that.
I don't
I just looked
know.
it up.
I don't know. I'm quite
I think
sure.
it was always Hulu, but it was always Hulu because Hulu was the one that their angle was that you could watch what was currently showing on TV.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So the commercials, I think initially you could only get the $6.99 subscription with commercials because
Yeah,
they were airing stuff that was coming from network TV, and that's how network TV pays for its stuff through
yeah.
commercials.
It's just
Um,
I need
but
them to
then
fix that money part.
they came with the what, the $9.99 or the $11.99
Yeah,
option where like if you paid that extra fee, like they
right.
could cut the commercials out.
So now the problem that I'm having with them, and I'm thinking now is less of an issue, but then it became the issue of how many people could watch versus how many different devices can watch it at the same time. And
Yeah.
that's cutting down on people sharing codes and
Yeah.
whatnot.
It was a
But
big thing. I remember that was a huge thing. Like you had one cat paying for Netflix and give it to 10 people.
yeah,
Yeah.
because that was definitely my mother and I. Like I have not lived with my mother in years, and we had the
Yeah.
same Netflix account.
Right. And
But
and like you can still do that to a certain extent. I think the
mhm.
problem was that it was just I think it was going overboard, right? I mean,
Well, I mean, it was a glitch in their marketing strategy.
you buying something and giving it like you buying the service and giving your mom access to the service is one thing, right?
Mhm.
Or I think that's fine. I give it to my sister, I give it to, my mom. I think that's doable and understandable, especially considering the fact that they've always had like the separate viewing profiles
Mm.
where it was always assumed that there was going to be more than one person watching, right? But when you start giving that joint out to like 7 to 10 people, you know what I'm saying? And I don't think they had any systems in place to prevent that.
It was
But
a
I mean,
glitch in
I
their
think that's
system.
no, it wasn't a glitch. I just don't think they had a system in place. You know what I mean? Like
I
Netflix
mean,
had
I think they figured because it was
along with the
only this amount that people would not do that. They
right,
had
and
to have
that was the
thought
other
about
thing.
that.
And like it's kind of weird when you think about it. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like if we live together or you're a close family member, like, okay, fine, like, but it's actually kind of weird that Netflix started out, and I think it was something like what, 6.99 a month or something like that.
Yeah,
And
but we all go fine. I mean, because many of us still had cable. So
oh, that's
I'm
true
not,
too. Yeah, that's true. That is
if you
true.
got somebody that's willing to pay it or you help them pay it, like I didn't see it because it was times where I didn't live in Maryland and we
Hmm.
still had the same Netflix account, and
Right.
I've shared other accounts with, other friends that did not live in the same state as me. But I think it's just the nature of us just always cutting corners
Right. If
and
you can get it
finding a
for
way
free, why
around.
not? Right.
Just the same thing that many people do. Like they'll pay for the subscription as long as their TV show comes on, and then when their TV show goes to hiatus or
Hmm.
it is off, people cancel their subscription.
And
I've
see,
done that
they're the
plenty of
next,
times with
but you know
Netflix.
what? They're the next people that's going to ruin it for everybody
I
because
mean, but if you really
what
like,
they,
for me, I only got Stars to watch P Valley.
hmm
I have not watched Stars since P Valley went off. So
right.
what's the point of me watching Stars
So
and paying
Stars
for
is
Stars?
like, but here's the thing: Stars is an add-on for um Hulu, correct?
Mm, I
Like you
don't
had,
know.
did you add on Stars? Like add-ons, I think are just that, add-ons, and I think everybody should have the right to do the add-ons, and I think people should have the right to cancel a service, like, like
Yeah.
if you just watching it for one show. But I don't
But I,
think
I bought
it's
Stars on its own.
sustainable.
They had like a 3-month um deal.
Uh-huh.
I think
Oh,
it was
okay.
like $5.99 for 3 months or something
So
like
did you
that.
get it like through Amazon?
No, I got it on its own.
Wait, what are you watching on?
Nothing. On my computer. I only watch it on my computer.
Oh, so you like went on to Stars like website and signed up
Yeah,
for it. Oh,
yeah.
okay. So see,
And
like I have
they had a special for 3 months, and I just got it. But I've gone
oh,
to it because I know the 3 months isn't up yet. But
mhm.
it's really nothing on Stars. Stars was
No, it's not.
like,
They get some good movies every now and then.
yeah, but not where I'm watching it every other day.
Yeah.
I've
So
gotten much
like,
more out of
see, you got me confused because you said Stars, and I'm like, wait, Stars ain't no streaming center, but like all of them now, I guess you can go online and
yeah.
watch them. Yeah, I
I
don't
mean,
count them.
it's like HBO, but it's like, yeah. I
No,
think
it's not. It's just you just bought the Stars add on. Like you can't watch it on your TV.
if I had a smart TV, I could.
I don't think you could. Like you had to. They don't have an app yet.
Yeah, if you go to it, it's just like HBO. Yeah,
No,
it's the
HBO
same.
Max has like HBO has a dedicated like app. Like you can download the HBO app
But
on
I
your
don't know if
smart
it's, I mean,
TV
well,
through
an app is
Amazon.
just, an app and
Yeah, yeah. No, I get it. I guess that's
a
my
website is
like
the
if you
same
don't have
thing.
it, like that's kind of like my um how you say, like that's like my litany test for streaming apps. Like you just like to me, I'm like Stars is just a channel.
Yeah, but I'm telling you, like
I would
right
never
now,
buy like I would
I'm
never
watching
sign up
it.
for.
I'm watching it. I just logged onto it now. It's just like the HBO one.
No,
So
okay.
you can go to it. They
But
got
you're
categories.
watching all of it on your computer and stuff, right?
Say it again.
You're watching everything on your computer.
Rarely do I
A
put it
little
on
bit
my
different.
phone. Like
Yeah.
if I'm watching on my phone, I might be on a road trip or something like that. I won't, necessarily put, because stuff eat up your phone, and I
Yeah,
don't
true.
I don't want to be
True.
stranded without a
Yeah,
phone. But it's
right.
just it's just like, because that's how I watch P Valley. I would
Okay.
go to it and watch, and it's literally like HBO Max. Like
Got it.
it's
Yeah,
it's the
see, I've
same.
never actually watched it like that. Like
Mhm.
So I
But that's
have
why I
Stars,
said
but
that's why I said I'm waiting for all the other
I have it through
channels
Amazon.
to do this.
I don't think they are. I don't think they have like, like channels aren't what's happening now is not channels teaming up. Like Showtime and Stars could absolutely do something like that.
Right.
But I know that, like, for instance, Warner Brothers, the reason why they're so far ahead is because they're owned by Warner Brothers,
Mm,
HBO Max. So HBO has always been a Time Warner company. So, when HBO, it just made sense.
right.
I don't know, and when I say that, I mean, when you have HBO Max, you have access to everything that's coming on HBO right now. But then
Mm-hmm.
you also have a bunch of content that is not on HBO, like the
Right.
channel.
Right.
So
Right.
that's the difference. Like when you sign up for Stars, the only thing you getting is what's currently playing on Stars, or what
I don't think so.
that's it. That's
I
it.
don't,
If it's
but I
not if
don't.
it's not showing on Stars right now, like if you can't go to your Comcast and find it, it's not, you don't have access to it. They don't have any partnerships with anybody as far as like exclusive content. It's
So
just
it's just
you
their
just have the
content.
channel Stars. Mhm.
Well, I say that, but it's still enough on here where they have enough content on here where you not, you know, you can still watch it. Like they have the same category. Well, they actually have more categories than HBO has.
I like, other than every now and then they got a movie that, or a couple movies. I'm not gonna say they don't have nothing, but
Mm-hmm.
the funny thing is, the funny thing is, like, as time goes on, Stars ain't gonna have no choice but to start producing its own content, because whatever belongs to like Warner Brothers, they gonna snatch that back.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever belongs to, like, who else is if it belongs to like NBC, they gonna snatch that back.
I think, but
Like,
I think
um,
I know what I think I'm doing this weekend because they got some good ones on here. They got
on
Harlem
Stars.
Nights. Yeah, Harlem Nights.
Yeah, see, like that
Poetic
rotation.
Justice.
Yeah, that rotation is like, generally, like most of them have decent content. I'm not a big fan of Stars original content. Um
See, I never got
because
into it that way.
I
They got
watched
Car
I,
Wash on here.
I gave Power it's I
I've
gave
never seen an
Power
episode of Power.
and it's a little bit of, time, but I mean, I felt about Power the same way I felt about the one that came on Fox after like the episode, after like a season or two. It just gets redundant.
Mhm.
Um, like, and I just, like, I get it. Everybody else loved it. I guess they loved the content. I wasn't a big fan. I didn't really think that the performances were that great. I didn't think the production was that great. But I get it. It's entertaining. It's just, it's just not that entertaining to me. And that just is what it is. But yeah, like, I'm trying to think of what else was on Stars, like Stars originals, and yeah, just, I mean, yeah.
Now
They
I've
have a whole
watched
lot.
a couple, like as I'm going through here now, I've realized I did watch a couple things on Stars, but only when P Valley was on. And that really when it went off, I just and now I'm looking at it like, damn, I could have been watching
Uh-huh.
I could have been watching
So
this.
let's pivot for a minute, because we've been talking about the streaming for a while, right? So, like,
Mhm.
we talked about like the options and the flexibility, and
Mhm.
just the level of control that you get over like the content that you watch, when you watch it, how you
Right.
watch it, like that. So now we at this precipice with COVID-19, right? So
Mhm.
we are starting to see that with the theaters being shut down due to safety concerns, or operating at very, very low capacity due to safety concerns, we're
Mhm.
starting to see movies coming out and making the direct jump to the digital services, right?
Mhm.
Except for some holdouts, right? Like these, what they call big tentpole blockbuster movies.
Mhm.
They seem to be the last holdout. Now, Disney Plus gave us Mulan for a premium access fee, which I thought was a pretty good business model, but I don't think that it was all that great for Disney Plus in the sense that I don't think because Disney is such a powerhouse,
Mm-hmm.
I don't they make most of their money from the accessories to a movie, right? So a movie like Mulan comes out, but they make most of their money. Disney makes most of their money from the merchandise, the theme
Right.
park, all of the Milan related stuff that they'll sell, once the movie comes out.
Mm-hmm.
So it was always thought that Disney did this as a trial run just to see how it would affect their subscriber base, which I don't think a lot of the other streaming services really can afford to do.
Right.
So we got Disney, we got Mulan, okay? And the other really big movie that we got before Mulan was Trolls World Tour. Trolls World Tour came out as an exclusive access on Amazon, so you could essentially buy it. And I think it was like $20 to rent and $30 to like buy to own.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and the reports came out that Trolls that the it actually did more money. That Trolls made more money than the first one, the one that actually came out in the theaters.
This just shows
So
how detached I am because I don't even know what these things are. I knew what Milan was. I wasn't gonna pay that
So
um
Trolls is like a
$30
kids
for me
film.
to
It's
watch
like
it.
it's like it's a film. It's a kids movie.
Right.
But the first one came out a few years ago. It was extremely popular,
Mm-hmm.
especially once it went. All the merchandise and all that stuff. The kids were like, trolls, trolls, trolls for a couple years. That was all they wanted.
Right.
And then the sequel came out and the sequel was supposed to come out like right around the time that COVID hit. So Pixar chose it's not Pixar. I forget which company made that movie. I don't think it's Pixar, but they decided to do a digital release through
Right.
Amazon through Amazon. And it did well. But we're still seeing a lot of holdouts. We're seeing there were a number of films that should have come out by now that have not come out, or they are um or
I
they
wonder
are.
how this will affect the
So
the
Tenet was okay. Go ahead.
the whatchamacallit season, the award season though.
It's probably gonna have a big effect because if the movie ain't out, if it hasn't come out by, and then the rules for consideration for you have to have a theatrical run in order. So for the Academy Awards, right? In
Mm-hmm.
order to qualify for most of the awards in the Academy Awards, your movie has to have had a theatrical run.
Right.
You can do a limited theatrical run. So like The Irishman, right? In order to be eligible for awards season, The Irishman, which was the last Martin Scorsese movie with Pacino and Robert De Niro, actually was a Netflix release, but they released it very limited in a few cinemas so that it would be eligible for
Qualify.
right. So it would qualify for the awards. So it's probably going to have a big effect on awards season.
I'm
If they
just
even
interested to
have it.
see how they will get around because they're gonna have to begin to accept the streaming sites as a alternative
They
versus
That's
just
what
a
I
movie
believe
theater.
they should have done immediately, to be honest. But
But
now,
you said the companies are intertwined, so that's probably why they haven't done it. Like
yeah, that's
the
a
movie
conversation.
theaters
That's
with
a
the
conversation for another day because they're really not intertwined. They're not.
they I
I just look at it the same way I look at cable, yo. Like there was a time where if you wanted to watch certain things, you had to
mhm,
have cable. That was it.
right.
You know what I mean? Like your only other option was to go buy everything like DVD or VHS.
Mhm,
But if you wanted to watch certain things, um, if you either paid for cable or you didn't watch it.
right.
Um, when
If you
movies
didn't see it
are
in a movie
released,
theater.
and when movies are released, um, you go to the movies to see it, or you don't watch it until it's available. For you to buy it.
But and I understand financially because you lose so much money choosing a subscription based type of deal versus because it can't be that much harder to do it because TV shows have done it.
Have done
TV
what?
shows are able to live on a streaming site
Hmm.
versus having to be on a network TV or even a cable channel.
Right.
They're able to live that way and probably do better.
Hmm.
I'm quite sure more people are watching a lot more of these reboots that are being put on Netflix and Amazon and such, more so
Hmm.
than they did when the show was probably out originally.
Probably. I mean,
But
definitely. Like Netflix opened. I can just tell you from my experience, opened me up to a lot of stuff that I probably would not have watched,
right.
and particularly some of the older shows that I discovered, like The West Wing. Like I did not watch The West Wing, um, when it was in syndication. It's on Netflix now, and I've been watching it, and it's slowly becoming, despite its age, it's slowly becoming one of my favorite shows.
And
Um,
that's an issue that I have because I think I mentally boycott stuff, but
mm,
then a lot of and that's how YouTube, and I think YouTube has to be a part of the conversation because it kind of I think it
I don't know
made it
why YouTube is a
possible,
part of this conversation. What content, like,
but I think
when
it made
what?
it possible
Explain to me
for
what content are you watching on YouTube?
um I watch a lot of old shows. I watch a lot of um
Ah,
but
okay.
I think what happens with YouTube, I think YouTube made it possible for a streaming network to be had because a lot of TV, film, and movies, people were like, and even podcasts. I'm big on watching podcasts. Like in radio, you have it's still a numbers game, and TV is still a numbers game. But people were watching like the Breakfast Club. I don't think many people who don't live in New York realize the Breakfast Club is a radio show
Radio show, right?
because most people only watch it on or watch it
On
rather
YouTube.
on
Hmm.
YouTube. Like you can't even watch it on
Well, I
any
would, I
other
would,
site.
I would
So much
think
so
that
that they
for
started their own
most
channel.
people probably didn't even listen to the Breakfast Club. I
They
mean, if
did.
you lived in
They
New
did. If
York,
you didn't live in New
you would have
York, you didn't.
absolutely known what the Breakfast Club was. But
But it's
probably
syndicated, so you would
I'm sure that
still
it
hear it.
extrapolated their viewership once they were able to
Yeah,
go to
but
YouTube.
they got on YouTube late because that's how people were actually watching their show. And then they put their series on YouTube. So they're
Okay.
now making money from that, the streams of it, the
Hmm.
watches and views and such. But again, I think YouTube kind of ushered the streaming sites in because they realized, oh, people will watch it, but we got to figure out another way to make money because and cut YouTube out of it. And there was no way to do that on their platform. So let's just make our own streaming site or our
Right.
own app versus trying to put our stuff on YouTube. And
Yeah.
many of them still put that stuff on. If you go to a lot of those shows, their stuff is they still have content on YouTube because that's a way to still
It's
generate.
just they're claiming it now.
Right, exactly. So and I YouTube is just a place where you could just watch stuff. Now it may be a little sketchy, a little grainy, real bootleg like,
Yeah.
but it was a way for you to watch stuff that wasn't necessarily on TV anymore. You
Got
know,
you.
it's
And
just a
see,
way. Like the only way you can watch
I
the
never
Cosby Show
utilized
anymore.
YouTube like that.
Yeah, that's the only place that you could probably watch the Cosby Show anymore. Stuff like that
Wow.
that you're not gonna find anywhere else. You will be
Wow.
able to find it on YouTube.
That's interesting.
Yeah, because
That is.
somebody downloaded it and uploaded it.
Right.
So that's probably the only place that you can watch shows like that have just
Mm-hmm.
been erased from TV.
Mm. That's
So
wild.
we can't speak about those things without mentioning YouTube because that kind of
Yeah.
started all of this. That was
Right.
the new bootleg. YouTube.
Oh yeah, YouTube was definitely a site for it was
Mhm.
definitely some bootleg. And I guess that okay, so like I think that was my issue. So like it wasn't with YouTube. It was
Yeah,
just like when I was young, I used to like we didn't do bootlegs at my house, right? But I
right.
lived in the hood, so that was some shit I picked up. You
You
know what I mean?
knew
Like
about
I
bootlegs.
knew about the bootlegs, but yo, I always hated bootlegs, yo. Like
Yeah, because you
like
saw people
the
heads and then somebody walked
yo,
by.
I was like, yo, like really, yo, like you can't pay. You paid $10 for this when we could have paid $7. And yo, I used to go to the movie theater when it was downtown, right? And I
Yeah.
would pay my little $7 and stay in there all day and just go
But
from
see,
one theater to the
that was
next.
just you.
I
That
was
was just
that was
you,
just me, but I was just
and
like
you didn't
so
have a
so
family of people though.
so because I was doing that, right? I was just
Mhm.
like, I'm looking at bootleggers. I'm looking at the bootleg copy, and I'm like, yo, I can't believe y'all watching this. Like you can't want to
It was
see this
just
that
it
bad.
was just convenience. Like, if
Yo,
you
but there
had
was nothing
I knew
convenient
plenty of
about it.
people did it
Nate,
because they had a bunch of
there
children.
was nothing convenient about it. Nothing.
Well, I mean, I'm
There
not
was nothing
justifying it.
convenient
I'm
about
saying
the
the
grainy
people who I
picture,
knew did it.
the crazy sound. Like it was
Yeah, but
nothing convenient about
you
bootleg.
know, a movie ticket was what, $7, $8. So imagine taking all your children to the movies.
I ain't gotta
It
imagine
does
it.
bring the kids
I was doing
down.
it before COVID came. I know,
Yeah,
but
so but just imagine, like, most of the people who I know who stayed with bootlegs, like when you go over their house, it was no real movies in their house. It was all bootlegs. Was people
yeah,
who had large families, and it was a way for you to still watch something without. And I really think, some of them were not. Well, I'm not gonna say it like that, but that was just another way for people to be able to watch something without having to pay. If you got a family of 5, you already know you go do that, and then you go want something to eat, and so it was just easier. Now, again, I'm not saying my household had bootlegs, but it made
I
me
would have
like,
just waited. I guess is my point. I would have just waited. Like the
yeah,
movie eventually comes out for home DVD, or VHS. I would have just waited.
yeah, but you want to watch it when everybody else watching it. Though. I'm not
Yeah,
again.
I ain't never wanted to watch nothing that
Justifying
bad that
it.
I was gonna
I'm
sit
just
through like
saying,
ridiculously poor quality.
yeah, but
And I mean, I'm not knocking nobody that did it. I was just, it always mystified me. It mystified, and at the time, being young, um, I never really took into account, how useful it might be in an age where you got a lot of family members or a lot of people in the house that you can't afford to all take to the movies. Um, but then it's like, yo, you could just wait 3 months for it to come out and just watch it then.
I
And like,
mean, you had a level of patience that many people didn't have, and apparently a couple more dollars than other people had,
I don't know
because
about a couple more dollars,
those
but
are
I
the
just
people.
like, yo, like I just like I didn't. I
And
mean,
I
yo,
think
like
I
you,
think to a certain people, like there are certain people who are movie theater people who love the experience of a movie theater, and then there's some people who just want to see the movie, and I think that's the market that utilize the bootleg. Because for me, I've seen bootlegs. I don't like watching bootlegs because I hate seeing people head, and I hate seeing the camera move, and you
right? It's
know,
just come on, like let's just call it what it is. It's poor quality. It's a terrible
it
way to
is,
watch a film. It's a terrible way to watch a film.
it
And it
is.
always was. I mean, we've had to do worse to survive and make do as our people have. I mean, I get that part. Um, but I
But
don't think we
it has
should.
to be an
Yeah,
experience for people. Some people like the experience of the theater, and some people it doesn't matter to them. They can all watch it in the living room or watch it on
I
their
just like
laptop or whatever.
I just
But
like
I personally
I
have
just like the
never
quality.
purchased
That's
one.
cause yo, here's the thing, like, and I don't want anybody to think that I'm looking down on bootlegging because as soon as bootlegging went virtual and all of a
Yeah.
sudden you was getting like DVD quality bootlegs, uh,
Right. Yeah.
like it wasn't like I'm not knocking bootlegging, so to speak. It was the quality of the bootleg that I just always saw.
He's very
That was
bougie
always
in
the
his
issue.
movie
That
watching
yeah,
experience.
I guess I was. I guess I was.
Very bougie.
Yeah.
I get it though. I really
I just
because that's
wanted
why I
good
never watched
quality stuff. Like I haven't seen Tenet yet. But Tenet was something that I had long decided I was going to watch on bootleg, right?
it.
And I decided that because I knew I wasn't going to no theater. So like Tenet, we talking about movies, right? And the whole streaming thing. And Tenet was like the one that was supposed to go and save the movie business, or like not, or bring back the movie business, right?
When did
Um
this come out?
Tenet came out. It kept getting pushed back. Hold on, I'll tell you the release date in a second.
That should have been
Uh,
the first one to sign.
Tenet was the Chris Nolan's latest movie. Chris Nolan is a huge theater supporter. Like he wants all his theaters to come. He wants all his movies to come out in the theater, and he want he's big on that. You have to see this in the movies. This is a movie for the movie theater experience. And his movies are. I will give him that. He makes big, loud, spectacle films, right? That honestly, like, unless you got like a 55, 60-inch TV at home with a sound bar, like, there's no way to really kind of like recreate that. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
his movies are just, they are like that. But it was pegged as like, yeah, Tenet's holding out. Tenet's going to be the first post-COVID big budget release. It came out September the 3rd, and it bombed. And they're trying everything they can do to like communicate the numbers so it doesn't seem like it bombed, but it bombed. It was the lowest grossing, is like by far the lowest grossing Christopher Nolan movie. It didn't do. It made less than $200 million in the U.S. box office. They keep touting the international numbers or the total box office worldwide because the rest of the world handled COVID a lot better than we did. So they were opening up their theaters earlier. And people felt more comfortable going to them. So that bombed, and then that scared everybody. So like after its second week, you started hearing all of the studios are pushing all their other films back into 2021. So Black Widow got pushed back. A lot of the Marvel projects got pushed back. Wonder Woman is another one that's sitting on the shelf that was supposed. James Bond pushed itself back to November of next year.
I think that's a big mistake.
April. They pushed James Bond back to April. So James Bond, this latest James Bond film was supposed to come out in April of this year. And It has now, they pushed it back to November because of COVID. And now they have, because of Tenet and its disappointing box office, they have pushed the new James Bond film back to April. So now we're looking at a full 1 year delay on its release.
It's gonna be hurtful,
And
in my opinion.
I'm not going to see. You know why? Because I know that there are people out there like me. I ain't going to see none of them shits in the theater.
Yeah, but it's not.
None
this
of them.
is not going to be normal in 2021. We're not going to be back to norm at least until 2022.
That's what everybody. Nobody wants to acknowledge that, Nate. You know what I'm saying? Like, the schools don't want to acknowledge it.
Yeah.
Of course, the president don't want to acknowledge it. A lot of these businesses don't want to acknowledge it. But you're right. I mean, the science has told us that a pandemic of this, like the scientists have been saying it for months, a pandemic of this magnitude, that was handled the way that it was, with a vaccine still, not really in sight yet. They've been saying 20, they've been whispering it. They haven't been as loud because I think the powers of B have been shutting them down. But yeah, like, I don't think anybody's going to be comfortable enough to go back to the movie theaters in no time soon. Not to
I already, I know
if
that
ever, if ever.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, we might not ever get back to a place, where 100 people are going to gather in a theater to watch a movie for an hour and a half, sitting next to a bunch of people that you don't know. We may
Yeah,
not ever get
people
back
are
to
doing it. They are doing it to some degree now, but like I've heard a lot of movie theaters are now moving to a rental space where it used to be an option for movie theaters, but now that's going to
that.
probably be their sole moneymaker now is renting
Right.
out the theater to an individual or to a family
And
party.
I mean that's fine. But even with that, yo, like I
What
ain't
they
like
show?
if I rent a theater, I'm taking 20 people.
Yeah, but again, what are they going
You
to
know what I'm
show?
saying?
What are they going to really show if nothing's coming out?
Um, yeah,
So
you're right.
that's the, unless it's gonna
But
be
my
like
thing is like,
favorites or something like that.
my thing is like, you could do that, and you could do that and release it. Just release it, yo. Like there's a large section of the population, yo. We don't give a fuck about going to the movie theater. Just give it like it's digital age now. Most of this stuff is available immediately for home video the day it comes out in the theater. Yo,
Right.
just let me pay my money
But
and give
what
me
I'm
my shit.
not, but what I
Not
refuse
forcing
to
me to go to the theater.
keep paying all these individual prices.
Well, I don't think
That's
so.
what.
So here's the thing. I don't think that those. I think that when we're talking about new release movies, I think we're looking at you would pay for that movie, not for a specific subscription. I don't think that we're gonna have a model where um stuff is just gonna come out on Netflix or it's just gonna come out on Hulu, like newly released stuff that would have otherwise been in the theater. I think what it'll do is it'll come to specific platforms that you can just buy it from. So like
But it should be the
Amazon is
same.
typically one of those platforms.
Either give it back to the movie theaters and let them turn it into a digital platform, or these production companies then create a streaming network within themselves. Like
I
it
mean,
has to be one or the other because this whole
that's a
thing.
lot of work for a very limited amount of content, though.
Yeah, but they still have old movies though. Like Warner Brothers, they have all these other movies,
Yeah, they're
and
not giving that away. They're not
Paramount,
giving
they
it
have.
away. They're not giving that away for a monthly subscription. And as someone who has some business acumen, I that wouldn't even I don't even think that would be smart. It's
Yeah,
smart
but
for
where else
Disney,
are
but
they
Disney
playing
sits
that?
in a
Where else are they
Well, that's what
playing?
I'm saying. Like, yo, you can release all this stuff on Amazon. Like, Amazon is the perfect distribution vehicle for new movies that you want to release. But
And that's
you
the
could do it on. So
to me,
anybody
I
who has
watch
a
a lot of movies on again because you can rent or buy a movie on YouTube. That's the first place that I saw that happen. I saw it happening on Amazon, but I also see it happening on that platform. But it has to be a way.
so it could be YouTube, it could be Amazon, it could be
Yeah, but to rent a movie on YouTube, depending on how new it is, you know, it's gonna be, I think I've never rented something for more than $10.
okay.
And that's extreme. Most of the movies I've rent has
But
been
let me ask you
between
something,
like
yo. Would you rent?
2.99.
Okay, all right. Let me ask you this: how much would you pay to see Black Rainey's? Huh?
My Rainey's.
How much would you pay to see My Rainey's Black? The August Wilson joint. How much would you pay to see that on the day that it came out?
See, for me, because of it and this is the type of movie theater movie goer I am. I'll go see something like that in a movie theater.
Right.
But
That's why
because
I
we're
asked
in
you about that specific movie.
but I'm saying for me, movies like that, I'ma go support because I want to support Denzel and
I
his
know.
initiative. But I would
So how
pay.
much would you pay to see it?
I'm not paying $30 to see it.
Would you pay 20?
Hell no.
Oh, okay. See, I'd pay 20.
Uh-uh. I
I'd
love you, Denzel, but not that much.
I would definitely pay 20.
Because you would overall, you're gonna make because ultimately ticket prices are are as high
$20.
are
Almost
because
$20.
right they are because
Like they almost $20.
they have to make the money from the movie theater. The movie theater has to still make a profit.
Yeah, but yo,
Because
like
they have to
that's not
pay
really
for. They're trying to
movie
pay
theaters.
back the money they
Movie
paid.
theaters have always made a profit. Like, there's really no reason for these prices to be what they are, except that nobody's gonna stop them from raising them.
No, and nobody's going to do it. But I understand the idea of it because at the same time they still have to pay the same amount to the movie theaters to get the movie. So that in and of itself is royalty rights. Then you got to pay employees. So I understand. I've always understood the model. I know somebody's getting rich off of this, but at the same time, I'm not paying that amount of money to sit in my home and watch a movie.
I will.
I'm sorry. I
I
just
will.
can't do
Like,
that.
and the funny thing is, it's like specific movies. It's gonna be movies that I like. Like, I'll pay
Mhm.
20 or 30. Like, and me and my girlfriend were talking about it because we bought or we rented. I don't know if we bought it or rented. I can't even remember. But we paid probably about $24.99 for Trolls, right? But the kids in the house wanted to see Trolls. Now, a movie like that, if
Mhm.
we all went to the movies to see it, I'm paying way more than $24.99. Then there was Mulan, and we was very clear that we was not paying for Mulan. Right, nobody in the house was really all that interested in
Right.
Mulan, and like that was a movie we'll wait till it comes to regular Disney Plus or Netflix or
Mhm.
something like that, right? So every movies come out, and people go to see them or they don't, right?
But
People
see,
will pay
you
to
have
see
an
them.
incentive to do that because
What
you have
yeah,
a household. You got a little basketball team.
But yo, like I'm not just talk. I was using that as an example. So for
Yeah.
children's movies, it'll be a little bit easier. But
Right.
even the movies that I would not take the kids to go see or can't take the kids to go see, right? Like
Right.
if it's a movie I want to see, I'm gonna pay for it. I'm gonna pay for it if I get up. Like, let's think about it. If to go to the movies, right? That's gas. You get to the movies. I don't usually go to the movies by myself.
Mhm.
Unless I want to, but most of the times it's gonna be me and my significant other. We going to the movies, right? We probably gonna have some popcorn, blah blah blah. We always went. Me and my girl always went to the movie theater at the Rotunda, so we usually ate while we were there. We sat down and had a drink at the bar. We ordered a drink while we were watching the movie. So like, what from a cost perspective, like it's a no brainer. Like, put that shit on line and let people pay to see it instead of sitting on it because you want to keep this outdated model going. And that's what's pissing me off about the movie business in general is I think movie theaters are an outdated model when you consider the technology that exists today.
But
Most people
that's why I'm
have
saying
big
it
screen
has to be.
TVs.
I'm not saying necessarily, and it may be a little bit more than the regular subscription plans, but at some point, and I think this is why they're sitting on it. In general, there will always be people who are going to pay that price because they just want to be they are movie goers and they want to see it.
Yeah,
Just like there will always
movie
be
goers
people, no matter
support
what
the
we're
movie industry.
like. It's right now. It's people still going to the movie theater. It's still people going to the movie theater. But I think the reason they're sitting on it because they know there's still a population of people who refuse to pay that, and it's only because
Why would you
you
refuse
can't
to pay that
charge an
just because you
individual.
not getting up and traveling somewhere?
Yeah, no, it's not
But my
that.
thing is, yo, like, hold up.
But at
You
the
only get up and
individual,
go travel because you have to.
but
How
at the,
many
that's the
people
same
before
idea.
COVID?
Say you and your family are
Mhm.
watching it. I'm watching it for the same price, and it's just me. That
Yeah,
doesn't that doesn't that's not fair pricing at that point. Because I'm still paying the same amount for this movie as if I'm a group of people.
right.
Because you set
So
that
by
price.
forcing you, and this is my thing, by forcing you to come out to the theater, I get to charge you per person. Uh,
Mhm.
and I want to keep that cash cow going, so I'm gonna sit on it. I hope they crash and burn. The
Well, they
whole
are.
the
They
whole
are.
theater industry. I hope they
It
crash
is.
and
It's
burn
going to suffer.
because yo, it's not like we go. Here's my thing, yo. We were talking about value earlier, right?
Mhm.
If the product is good, the product is good.
Yeah, but
Set
I
your
shouldn't have
price.
to pay the same amount that you
Set
pay
your
for your
price for the
household
good.
for my
But
household.
that's the whole thing, yo. Like the only reason that they got away with making you pay multiple amounts to see a movie is because they were pricing the seats. But you don't price the seats anymore. You just don't price the seats anymore.
And I mean, I'm not saying whether it's right or wrong, but this is why they're sitting on it.
I'm not saying it's right or wrong either. It's outdated.
Yeah, but it's still,
and they're gonna lose money anyway. The longer that James Bond sits on the shelf, the less people are interested in seeing it.
Yeah, because they've already paid for it.
Who's paid
they're not
for it?
receiving anything back from it at this point.
Who's paid for it?
I mean, the movie has already been shot.
The longer that a movie is delayed, the less the interest wears off. So like what they stand to make, right, is not going to be any more or less comparable than if they released it tomorrow.
And I agree with you, but I think the issue then becomes, and they probably are weighing this option. There are going to be people who refuse, like me. I'm not paying the same amount as an individual that you paying as a group for people to watch it. Why do
you care?
Huh?
Why do you care?
Why do I care?
There's one price, yo. Like if you live at home and you're a single man, hold on, time out. If you're a single man who lives at home and decides that you're gonna go buy a DVD, you and me both pay the same price for that DVD. Who watches that DVD with me is a non-issue. Why would you make that an issue?
Yeah, because in this case, that's an issue for me.
Hold on, yo. Why would that be an issue for you, yo?
Because it's an issue for me because I'm paying the same amount that you're paying.
No, you paying for the product
as a family.
It don't matter. Why do you care how many people watching it? You paying for the product, bro.
Because a DVD is a little bit different because it's already been out.
What is different about that, yo? Like the DVD in most cases, costs as much, if not a little bit more, than the ticket price, depending on when you went to see the movie. DVD average cost is like $17 to $22.
That depends on what movie, because most times you buy a DVD to something, it's something you really love. It's something you've already probably seen it in a movie.
And when you go to a movie theater to see a movie, it's something you really want to see.
Yeah.
Let's think about this for a minute, Nate.
That's the thing with the DVD.
Let's think about this for a minute. Every movie that comes out in the theater, you know that it's going to be available for you to watch at home within
That's 30, why I don't go to the movie theater like that unless it's something I really want to see.
People who still go to the movie theater because they really want to see that film when it's released. Before they
I understand that.
Okay. When you go to buy a DVD, you don't buy every single DVD that comes out. You buy DVDs of movies that you either really, really like or really, really want to see. And you don't worry about the price of the DVD versus who's watching the DVD when you go do that. So why would you do it with new movies?
I'm just saying, for me, I never bought the DVD because I always had cable. So that was the gimmick for me. Like I wouldn't buy the DVD.
Cable prices typically don't change depending on how many people who live in the house.
Right. But you also not just seeing that one thing though.
But you're paying the same price. You don't have access to any more content than I have.
Yeah, and you have to understand. So those different platforms for me, it does make a difference. Because for me, I'm gonna go to the movie theater rarely. It's the experience for me. Chances are somebody else is paying for it. Because I don't get the same enjoyment out of a movie watching it for the first time that most people do. So I'm going to. So if they are renting out movie theaters and it's just like, would you rent out a movie theater for you and your family for $99? That's like a price that they're throwing out there right now for certain movie theaters.
And I'm wondering though. So like by your logic, are they capping it? Because if they tell me I can only bring 10 people, and that's $10. If it's $99, but how many people? And can I bring enough people to fill up the theater?
They probably have a cap on it.
Are they capping it at 10 people?
25 people?
Because like, yo, I think if you charged $100 to $100, if you charged $99 to $150 to rent out a theater, I like that idea, right? because you can go with your group of friends that you feel comfortable and safe around. You know that they're gonna, you can socially distance in the theater if need. You know what I'm saying? But then you also, that it because it's a business, they're gonna sanitize, they're gonna do that, all that, right? I think that's
I
worth
don't
it.
think they're gonna do all that. That's why I'm not doing it.
Yeah, I think they're gonna do all that. I don't think
It's
that
still
anybody is
sticky, so I'm not.
not taking COVID serious.
Right.
So let's look at that. But then what's the cap?
It's probably gonna be
because like hold on, time out. Because if it's 25 for $100, I'm with that.
Right.
But if they start, if they capping it at like 10 at $100 and they cap it at 10 people, that's the same you pay for a movie ticket price.
Right. I think
about the same as a regular movie ticket.
This is my assumption, only because capacity has, is around 25 right now. So it may be that.
I don't see that as a viable business option, though. I don't. Like, can imagine Nate and your circle of friends, how difficult or easy, because it might be easy for you, and your circle of friends, if you wanted to rent out a theater, how difficult would that be planning wise?
It's like,
and mind you, it ain't no special event, nigga. We just going to the theater.
Yeah, I don't think
you know what I'm saying? It's not like
I think the model makes sense because what would they have done during those time slots anyway?
Yeah, I mean, it allows them to make some money. I don't think the funny thing is, like everything seems to be around saving the theater. We gotta save the movie theater. We gotta save the movie theater. Yo, it's an outdated technology. Let that bitch die.
Yeah, but the novelty of it is still there because we have our independent movie theaters as well.
Okay, all right. Well, so check this out, yo. If everybody keeps saying that the novelty's still there, people want this. Give them an option and see what happens. You can't stand on that, yo, when people don't have another option.
For the majority, that's true. But there's still a niche of people. Like there are people right now.
Right. Let the niche cater to the niche.
I have a friend in New Orleans right now who has found a tape deck that he can insert tapes and CDs in. And he has a nice car, but he has found it's still a niche of people who love CDs and love albums and love, cassette tapes.
So let them cater to the niche and
let the
rest of my people go.
But that's what's gonna happen.
That's not a good business model, Nate. Like if I gotta go to the movie theater to see the movie, and you telling me people want this? No, nigga, I don't want to go to the movie theater. I go to the movie theater because I want to see the movie.
I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm saying in their mind, they are realizing that there are people who are diehard theater fans. There are still people.
Let them go. Let them rent out the theaters then.
Yeah.
But don't make that the business model. Don't make me be one of them.
Yeah, but I think they're stuck right now because everybody is waiting this out. We thought this was going to be over in a month. We're now going into the 7th month. If not, we are in the
movies.
Let
my people go.
You saying it, but
let my people go.
Nobody knows what this is going to be. So I think
what does that have to do? Let me ask you something. What does that have to do? Here's my thing, yo. It's not the movie theaters that I have a beef with right now. I got a beef with the studios because ultimately it's their decision.
Yeah,
it has nothing to do with the movie theaters right now.
It has gotten so popular to make $1 billion movie right now, or to quadruple the money that you spent. Actually, your budget.
Mm-hmm.
I think right now a lot of them are like, "Are we gonna get our money back?" Now, the problem is they've already spent the money. They paid their actors already. They paid their designers and
the investors are trying. Right. And now it's just the investors.
Right. So everybody that's a part of the back end, those people are saying, are we going to make our money back?
I think they would.
I mean, it really depends. Like you said, if somebody's waiting until next November, chances are you're not getting your money back. because something else is going to be coming out that's even
Well,
hotter than what.
yeah, and that's the thing. We're gonna get a real onslaught because they ain't stopped making movies.
That's why right now you'll hear about a movie being made, but you never know until maybe 2-3 months before it's about to be released, because people don't want to wait more than that time. Now you can't even make somebody wait 3 months.
Right.
You really can, unless you're doing like a worldwide tour and advertising it. If you ain't got that budget to do that, then you better come out that month. You better be start promoting it a month and a half before, because nobody's gonna. It's not gonna. It's gonna fall on deaf ears. But I think right now the whole industry, in their greed, don't know what to do.
Right, and that's the thing. That's the key word because all it's great.
Because they're
It's
just
just
banking
great.
on things going back to normal, which we all know this
Ain't
is
happening.
never going to be that normal anymore, because it's always going to be the possibility that we can get back to this point,
So
even if we
I
ever get.
mean, but I mean, like even like, but what I don't understand is, well, this is what I know. You had one movie come out that was more successful financially
Hmm.
via streaming only than its predecessor that actually came out in the theaters.
Right.
You've got a huge tentpole movie that most people usually come out in droves to see
Hmm.
that released in the movie theaters only and bombed.
Well, again, look at the mark. Look who's being marketed. Children movies will always outdo adult movies, because, as people don't
Oh,
talk about it much, but children, anything makes more, because you got merchandising, because you got TV shows that come from it and other cartoons and sequels. It's always going to make more money. And you notice most times their figures don't even get put up. It's normally talked about, but we always focus on the adult stuff, because we know the children's stuff will always outsell. And right now, your children at home, for the most part, I need something for them to get out my face for a couple minutes. Versus us, we like, if you're a movie goer, you will go venture out to the movie theaters if you have one available to you. Or
mm.
if you on it like that, you're gonna pay the $30 for yourself, and your family to watch it, or
Yeah,
a
I
couple
don't
friends.
I don't I mean, I certainly see the appeal. I don't
Mhm.
know if I wholeheartedly agree with that because again, it's a choice. Like
Right,
we chose to pay for um Trolls. We
right,
chose not to pay for Mulan, right? But then there's been movies that have come out also like smaller movies, right? That my girlfriend and adult movies that we paid to see.
right.
The Invisible Man was one of them, right? The Invisible Man had come out in theaters. It had come out in theaters right before COVID hit.
Mhm.
And because of COVID and the theaters and everything getting shut down, they released it early on for like you could purchase it or rent it.
Mhm.
We paid for that. There was another movie, another like thriller horror movie came out with Kevin Bacon recently that skipped the theaters and came right to the streaming platform, and we rented it.
Right.
There's been since COVID has happened, there have been some movies that have been released, right? Coming to America just announced that they're going to release
Mhm.
exclusively on Amazon, I think it is.
Yeah.
And I can't remember when that release date, but Coming to America 2 has already announced that they're going to release. And of course, Disney is releasing its second film on Christmas Day
But
in
I
Seoul.
think it's all of this is possible. Whether you choose a streaming network, whether you take the chance and open it in a theater,
Hmm.
or turn these theaters into digital platforms, and then you can.
I don't think the market is there for that. I just don't think there's enough
Well,
films.
I'm telling you, it works, because if you go to some of these independent theaters, like we have a couple of them here, they did that because they were showing older movies. So you would go to their
See, that's not the
website.
same as turning them into streaming platforms.
Yeah,
Because
not
what for
necessarily.
when the
That's the idea. I'm just
why do
saying.
the theaters need their
So
own
instead of you
platform?
going to the theater, you now can just go to their website and just pick the movie you want to see
Man,
and
I
you
don't
watch
want to go to
it.
that website. Send that shit to Amazon so I can watch it right on my TV.
See, and that's
I like
see, and
like
this
the
and
most of
right
us do
now
not
is
watch. Most
why
of us do
the
not
movie
watch.
theaters are sitting on films.
I don't see why. Like a dollar is a dollar. Like get it. Like get your money and move on.
Yeah, but they want to. They don't want it to break
no,
even
like
though.
no, I don't want no, like I don't want that extra step. Like I would absolutely. I don't know about
You go
you.
to a streaming site. Like,
I would absolutely make sure that not a dollar of my money went to another theater if they did that.
I'm just saying it makes sense if that movie theater has a number of movies that they have in coming out. I think it because the way technology is now, you will limit whether somebody can see it. So you may only have it for 24 hours, or like when you rent something, like I've rented, stuff on YouTube before, and once you watch it, you only have that 24-hour period to watch it.
Yeah,
It's
that's
like
the same thing
20 hours to
on
watch.
that's the same thing on Amazon. I'm just saying they don't need to build their own when they already exist. Just like
I don't
so
think it's
you want
building
the
their
movie
own,
theater,
but
you want the
it's
movie theaters to still exist. I don't.
it's I
I
mean,
want to cut
but
them out as the
eh,
middleman. Like, cause we don't really need movie
I don't
theaters
think
when we
you're
have
ever going to
platforms
be
like
able to do
Amazon and
it. As long
YouTube.
as you got independent filmmakers, you'll always have a movie theater. It may
Why
not
do
be
you
as
think that?
many, like if
Wait. Why do
especially
you
like
think that?
the main ones, you may just see a drastic decrease or elimination of the big, the big ones. But you'll always have a movie theater because a filmmaker wants that experience. Somebody sitting at home, that's not the experience for them. And
I would
until
beg to
these
differ.
until these awards
What is
and
it about? Let me ask you something. In
uh
2020, what do you think? What is it about the movie theater experience that you think is so great or so novel?
I mean, there are people
Because
who
I used to think this is my thought. I always thought that the whole thing about going to the movie theater was that there was an experience that you got at the theater because of the screen and the sound technology that you can't get at home. But I can get that at home now.
yeah, I think that's part of it. It's still that huge screen. It's still being in the theater and having everybody laughing at the parts you're laughing at and gasping at the parts you're gasping at. It's just a movie that I personally don't share that experience. It's not. I've gone to see lovely movies in the theater all by myself, and I loved it. So it's not about going with somebody or the date experience, but for other people it's the idea of going with your children, your family, your significant other. Like it's that experience. It's
I,
always just a family outing
my
or
thing is like you
individual
can do
outing.
that.
But I
So
would
like
rather by
there's
myself. I
nothing
don't
that's going on at the theater that you can't recreate on your own.
there
Like
there
people are having watch parties.
like there
People are
have
having watch
been
parties at their home.
I can name
People are investing it.
times. But there are certain movies that I wanted to see on my own, and I wanted to see in that format. It's just like Moonlight was one of those movies. I could not imagine. I've watched it on a streaming site, but at the same time, I like that first time I went to go see it in the movie theater by myself. I went to Charles Theater to go see it, and I saw it by myself. It was like maybe five of us in a movie theater. But that's gonna be the new experience for a while for people. But that was just what I enjoyed. I enjoyed that because I just wanted to treat myself that day. It had nothing to do with the movie theater. I just wanted to treat myself. It was a movie that I was very interested in seeing. I saw it. There are certain things that I want to see in a movie theater. I want to go see Fences. I don't know about Ma Rainey. I don't know. I'm gonna have to. It's going to have to be a good price point, or a experience. Maybe somebody set up like a outdoor movie theater or something. But that will be something that I wanna support. But they're gonna have to come up with a good price point for that. It's going to be a good idea
You
for
mean
me.
like a good price point for the theater?
For me,
What price point would they come up with?
I don't know.
Oh,
I
you
don't know.
talking about like if they released it digitally as
But
opposed
I
to in the
believe
theater?
I have a strong thing that I think they're going to soon release it on a streaming network. I think that's what's going to
Oh,
happen.
it is. It's coming. I think it's coming to Netflix, but Netflix doesn't do that. That's not something that was always a Netflix film. I don't think it was. If it was planning a theatrical release, they probably sold the film to Netflix.
Well,
Fairly.
it was supposed to be a deal with, I want to say, HBO. They were supposed to, if the deal was with HBO originally, but I think something happened where the first movie theater, maybe they didn't offer them a big enough budget. So Denzel went and had the movie produced on his own, and it was very successful. So I believe HBO will say, "Well, you know what? We're going to do it on this platform."
Yeah,
Because
December 18th on
it's
Netflix.
still 8 other movies outside of Ma Rainey and Fences that still have to be made. So I think it would probably be smart of them to bring that content to their platform because people go watch it. I know I would because I already have HBO Max, so I would definitely watch it there. But if it's going to be released on Netflix, then I have Netflix too. So
Yep,
if
it is coming out on Netflix.
so, they may have just made the deal with Netflix versus
Yeah,
HBO.
initially it was with HBO, and then it moved to Netflix.
Right. Well, it went to the movie theater
Well,
because
I
all,
think that
all
like fences,
Mhm.
I think that Ma Rainey Black, but I think that Ma Rainey's um they will probably try to do some type of theatrical release as well. Um, it'll have to be limited, but I know that this is a movie that they probably gonna want to put up for awards contention
But I have a feeling. I have a feeling because
unless they change
the
it.
award series is going to be very empty if they don't open it up to streaming premieres. They're going to have to because it's going to be very empty. If all of these
Well, that's
movies have
leverage.
pushed it
But
back
the
a
funny
year,
thing is that would be great leverage for the movie theater business because they could use that as leverage to say, no, we don't want those rules changed. A lot of those people sit on those boards that make the decisions
yeah.
for those award shows,
But at the
and
same time,
they can
money talks.
absolutely be.
If it's cheaper, I'm quite sure these producers are going to override some movie theater owners
I don't
or
know.
boards.
I don't
I'm
know
quite
because
sure.
the truth is maybe what you're thinking is actually the opposite because people think that people seem to think that releasing it solely in a streaming model is somehow cheapening the film. Like you're gonna make less money off of it.
I
Or
don't
they gonna
think
make less. Yo,
necessarily
Nate, let
that.
me tell you something. They gonna make less money. Like they gonna make, and it's people like me, right? So Christopher Nolan produced 3 Batman films, and I saw all of them in the theater at least 3 times. The
But why would you go to the theater to see that if it was on a streaming network?
because those are my movies. Like those are the movies. Like I have a relationship with the theater. Don't get it twisted. I don't dislike the movie experience.
But
I
you want to
dislike.
close them all down, and that's
Yeah,
not
yeah. Well, the thing is,
realistic.
like, we just ordered a 55-inch TV. Like, I don't really feel like I'm gonna have to do that anymore. But my love of movies and the types of movies that I enjoy, like I saw Fences in the theater twice. You
Mm-hmm.
know what I mean? Like, all of the recent Bond films, like I've been back to see multiple times. Black Panther, I saw 4 times. Like I paid to see Black Panther 4 times in the theater. I paid to see
I
Fences.
have a confession. I've
Um,
never seen Black Panther.
you tripping, bro?
I'm not. Again, I
You
said that
tripping?
earlier. There are certain things that I want to reserve for a moment.
Oh, okay.
Like I feel like
Well, you
November
missed
the
that moment, bro.
3rd,
I
it
mean,
will probably be that moment.
you missed that moment. That was a theater experience. That
I
was a
mean, for
true theater
me,
experience. That was an amazing,
okay.
energetic, like everybody was dressed to the nines. You remember how like how like we used to how
I
like you
just
see
like that
old
on my own, so I
uh,
can't.
you but yeah, but you know what, yo, like there's some people who do that on their own, and then there's some people who don't. So when those people do, you really get to see it.
Mm-hmm.
It was like, how like we watch a lot of shows that depict our people in the past, and how dressing up was just a natural part of life, like looking good, like looking presentable, being
Right.
or whatever the aesthetic was, right? Was like a regular thing. Like,
I
so to
think that's why
watch all
people
these
see it,
people
'cause I
showing up to the theater in dashikis and black
yeah.
power attire, people coming dressed like a Black Panther, um,
That's and I
just
probably mentally and without me realizing it, that's probably why I didn't do it, because that would have been too much for me. It would have been
that was the
too.
beauty of it to me.
I got asked so
That was
many
the
times
beauty of
that
it.
people were going in groups, and I was like, no.
Yeah.
'Cause
Yeah.
I've really like one of my favorite things to do is when there is a limited release of something, it's going to Charles Theater versus, I like going to Rotunda. That's a great experience. I've been to theaters like that before we got
Yeah.
them here. But I would appreciate just watching a movie. I just want to watch it. Some people
Yeah,
like that
some movies.
experience of having a crowded
I mean,
movie.
some movies you just want to watch. Like when
Yeah,
I think the first time I went to see Fences, um, there was probably, I think it was probably like three quarters full,
uh-huh.
right? And that was cool. The second time I went to see it, it was probably like seven other people in the theater,
Right, right.
and I enjoyed it more
That
when
second,
the
yeah.
theater was empty,
And you
because
know what?
I
They probably
literally
released
went
it
back
around
just to
Christmas.
marvel at the just the acting, the performances, right? Like I was like, I gotta go see that again.
Right. They
Um,
may release that. They may release the second one around Christmas because that's when the last one came out. That's when the first one came out.
it comes out December 18th.
Say it again.
December 18th.
That's what. See, and I figured
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know that, but I figured it was going to be around Christmas again
Yeah.
because that was a good time for them. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, that movie did pretty well. I think it surprised a lot of people that people didn't know what it was, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and for them to go see it and that was one of those word of mouth movies, but yeah. But in wrapping up, because I didn't even realize I haven't even been looking at the clock.
Right.
Um,
We done already filmed 2 episodes.
so but it was important because I'm a release it as it is, and that'll just give people an idea of this the conversation flow, and it
Yeah.
won't ever. I mean, I won't ever plan for it to be this long, but it could be. So.
Hmm. I don't know, man. You gonna release the whole thing like this?